Yes, here we go. Brand new sermon series. My name is Cullen. I'm the lead pastor. Super glad that you are here with us today. How's everybody doing? Doing good? Awesome. Maybe some of you are a little bit tired from Reach Day, but hey, let's go. It's already a good day. It's going to continue to be a good day. I just want to welcome you too. If you're a guest with us for the first time, thanks for joining us. We are super glad that you are here in the house with us today. Now, maybe you've heard the name of David Green before. He's actually the founder of Hobby Lobby. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Anybody like, oh, no? Okay, some people, all right. So he actually grew up as a preacher's kid, pastor's kid, and they had very limited resources, didn't have much when he was growing up, when they were young, and so they lived a very simple lifestyle, okay? Well, his unique story is that he actually eventually went on to become the founder of Hobby Lobby. Yes, and I think my wife is one of the primary customers that has helped to make Hobby Lobby so successful. Unfortunately, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it is one of her favorite stores, but to her credit, she often waits until things are like significantly discounted, like 40, 50% off. Then she like ducks in there and buys out the whole store. No. Anybody else wait till like those sales they got going on? Anybody like that? How many of you also give some support to Hobby Lobby because you just love going in there, love what they, okay, yeah, I got a lot of people. That's cool. Now David, he made this decision early on, okay, that his wealth was not for personal indulgences or anything like that, but it was actually for God's purposes. Yeah, he's donated estimates of over $500 million to faith-based organizations. It's like, wow. And then I've seen many sources talk about how the company, Hobby Lobby, that they donate 50% of their pre-tax earnings to evangelical ministries. That's incredible. And David said these words. He said this. He said, we want to be stewards of what God has given us and not owners. God is the true owner of our company. As an owner, you have the responsibility to steward everything, but when you recognize God is the owner, it changes how you think about everything: money, power, influence. It's not about us anymore. That's what he said. Then I heard a podcast with one of David's family members recently, just the other day, and it was obvious that financial stewardship principles are actually being passed down from generation to generation. Because this family member said this. This family member said, we make more money so we can give away more money. How cool is that? We make more money so we can give away more money. See, they understand there's a higher calling for their financial resources. Like, they get this concept. You see, it doesn't really matter like how much we have or how much we don't have. It's about this understanding of a powerful principle, this powerful principle of, since God owns my finances, He has a divine purpose for my finances. Yeah, since God owns my finances, He has a divine purpose for my finances. Because you see, without God's blessing and provision, we wouldn't even have the finances that we currently have. I mean, He's given us the ability to earn income. He's given us the ability to have a job. Without Him, we wouldn't have what we have. You know, it's really good to recognize that. Sometimes we forget that. And it's really the same principle that David Green talked about, that God is the true owner of our finances. And since God is the owner, well, He has a divine purpose how we're supposed to navigate our finances. And this is exactly what we want to talk about today. And I believe this message is going to be a game changer for many people. Why? Because we're going to unlock some principles from God's Word. That's why. And when we do that, it is a game changer. This is the first message in a brand new series we're calling REELS. The idea behind the series is that if social media existed in the first century, can you see that? In the first century? Then the comments that Paul makes in 1 Corinthians, I think it would have been the content for a lot of his social media reels. I really do, because he closes out his letter in 1 Corinthians in chapter 16 with some good soundbite worthy advice for us. And I believe this advice is really going to elevate our life and give us some new purpose, okay? So for those who haven't been with us, we've been on a journey through the book of 1 Corinthians, and we're now coming up to 1 Corinthians chapter 16, the last book, or the last chapter in this particular book. And here's what the soundbite of content for us is as we open up this chapter. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 1 through 4. We'll read the first couple verses first. He says, "Now regarding your question about the money being collected for God's people in Jerusalem," he said, "you should follow the same procedure I gave to the churches in Galatia. On the first day of each week, you should put aside a portion of the money you've earned. Don't wait until I get there and then try to collect it all at once." And then he goes on in verse 3 and 4. He says, "When I come, I will write letters of recommendation to the messengers you choose to deliver your gift to Jerusalem. And if it seems appropriate for me to go along, hey, they can travel with me." Yeah. So as we start off this chapter, there's some interesting things that we see. I want to kind of bring us into the picture, because in this passage alone, there's 2 Roman provinces that are mentioned, and there's 3 more that are mentioned throughout the rest of chapter 16 for a total of 5. And so each of those 5 areas, they reflect very different cultures and a lot of different conditions, okay? So all of these churches together, they kind of represent a collection of like international churches. And Paul has connection with all of them, all right? And honestly, it really reminds me what happens here at Reach Church with all the different cultures and all the different nationalities present. It's just so cool. We love all the different cultures and different languages. And we believe we can worship together and come together like this and worship. It's so cool. It's so awesome. And so with that in mind, normally it was Jews who sent money and offerings to fellow Jews in Jerusalem. But in this particular situation, there was this Gentile church, because Corinth, they were a Gentile church. So you had this Gentile church who was collecting money for Jewish Christians. And so this is beautiful because it shows how the gospel, okay, along with us following God's plans for finances, it shows us how it can break down racial barriers. Because that's what it was doing, is breaking down racial barriers. And it was bringing cultures together. And I believe that's one of the things God's called us to do here at Reach Church. We break down racial barriers, we bring cultures together, and that's what this situation was doing. That's what giving and our finances can do in God's kingdom. And we also see that the instructions on giving and finances that are represented here that Paul's talking about, they're actually for every church. Okay, not just some, but every church. You see, Paul, he'd been providing the same instructions for all the churches throughout Galatia, and that was already a number of different churches, all right there. And then what Paul was teaching about finances here, he was communicating, hey, I'm teaching this same thing in all the churches. Can we all say, let's say all. Yeah, he said, all the churches, this is what I teach. So the instructions for like biblical stewardship and finances, they are for every believer. They're for every church. Why? Because he's communicating these timeless principles from God about finances, which means this is relevant for us here today, and this is going to be helpful for all of us, all right? And so what's that principle again? Since God owns my finances, he has a divine purpose for my finances. And we're going to look at what this principle can mean for each of us, all right? So the first principle that we see is this. I view giving as a demonstration and not an obligation. So I view giving as a demonstration, not an obligation. Why? Because we remember that God owns my finances. And so he unpacks this a little bit. Now, we know from other passages outside of the one we're looking at today, there's other passages that talks about this specific collection of money that Paul's referring to. And so we understand as we look at it in context that the reason that they're collecting this money is for those who are experiencing some poverty in Jerusalem. So that's the purpose of this giving opportunity, all right? And so giving in this way is actually a demonstration of our heart for people that God also has a heart for. So it's a demonstration, right? A demonstration of what? Our heart for people that God also has a heart for, okay? So it's not something like we have to do. It's like, oh, I got to do this. No. It's not something we have to do, but it's something that we get to do that aligns with the heart of God. That's what it is. We have the opportunity. Can we say opportunity? It's an opportunity. A wonderful opportunity. You know, one of the foundational principles that Paul incorporates into his ministry here, and that we see throughout his ministry really, is this focus on compassion. And this was his heartbeat that fueled things for Paul, which made giving an opportunity, a demonstration of something wonderful rather than an obligation. So we see throughout the ministry of Paul that he has this philosophy of ministry towards those who may need some food, right? It's a heart of compassion to meet the needs of the poor, a heart of compassion to feed the hungry. That was in Paul, right? A heart of compassion to help those who were less fortunate. A heart of compassion to care for the marginalized. A heart of compassion to show tangible kindness to people who are in need. Like these were some of the things that defined his ministry. And as I was thinking about this, you know what, Reach Church? This is exactly what we did as a church with Reach Day yesterday. This philosophy of compassionate ministry that Paul embraced. This is exactly what we did. Now let me tell you some of the things that happened yesterday so you can understand. We hosted something on site here. We had this, massive grocery distribution, a block party for families and kids and everything. Guys, we served over 2,000 people on this campus yesterday. Isn't that incredible? It was amazing. We served over 2,000 people. Okay, we gave away an entire semi-truck trailer with 34 massive pallets of goods. That's what we did. Why? We love people. We have a heart of compassion. We're for the city. This is what it's about, okay? And we also, just some more specifics about this, we supplied 931 family units with 2 to 3 weeks worth of food items, personal hygiene items, paper products, and cleaning supplies. Come on. This is awesome. This is the compassionate ministry that God wants us to have for our city. It's why we're here. It's why we exist. And we also served 113 people with prayer, praying over them, helping to pray for their needs and the things that they're going through. And then we had, this is awesome, we had 234 one-on-one conversations where the gospel was presented to people. That's amazing. Incredible. And get this, we prayed with 86 people to receive Jesus in their lives. Come on. This is awesome. That's what we did as a church. I mean, wow, we celebrate this. Yes, yes, yes. We believe this is what God's called us to do. We're here for people to show compassion. We're here for the city to reach the one who's disconnected from God. And this was a result of a church coming together to make a difference in our city through compassion. That's what it was. So thank you for those who served to make this possible. I know you're probably tired today. Thank you. Thank you for giving of yourself. It was outstanding. You see, it was a real-life demonstration, representation of these foundational principles of compassion that Paul had in his ministry. That's what this was, Reach Church. This is awesome. And if you're here this morning from Reach Day, we welcome you. We want you to be a part of our church family. You're welcome, man. You are so welcome here. We're glad that you've joined us today. And also, let me say, if you recently received Jesus, maybe you gave your life to Jesus yesterday or recently, we'll put this slide up there, the Belong slide. We want to invite you to come to Belong. One portion of Belong is discipleship, happens at 6:30 p.m. On Wednesday nights, right there in our lobby, in the Next Steps room in our lobby. You see, we weren't meant to walk our faith journey alone, and we go over core elements of our faith in Belong, and then we talk about them. And so I want you to join me. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there on Wednesday night, 6:30. So come and join us. I want you to be a part of this. This will help you grow in your journey of faith. We have an amazing time in Belong. I just love that. It's awesome. And so, with that in mind, not only do we demonstrate compassion at Reach Day, which we do, and we did, and I love that. We also have regular programming, compassion elements that are associated with Dream Center Des Moines. For those who may not know, we started something called Dream Center Des Moines. It's a separate nonprofit organization. It operates on the north part of our campus, and we recently started that several months ago. We already have like 9 different areas of programming right now. God has accelerated this thing. It's about bringing hope to our city. That's what it's about. And there's several elements that kind of stand out to me as these compassion-oriented programming pieces that really speaks to what Paul had as the heart of his ministry. We have a free medical clinic that operates out of there. We have a free food pantry every single week where we're serving people in our city. We have a free pregnancy center. We have free services with Together for Good to help strengthen family units. We have a free 12-step recovery program to help those with hurts and habits and hang-ups. Isn't this amazing? Like, this is amazing. This is what we're called to do. And you can see all these things and more on our Dream Center website. You can check that out. You can scan that QR code if you want to. You can check out the website later. And I just want you to know, when you give towards global impact, which is our missions efforts here and all around the world at Reach Church, you're helping to support the Dream Center and all these amazing programs that literally transform people's lives. Can I just tell you a quick story about how God has transformed somebody's life through the Dream Center? Can I tell you that real quick? You want to hear that? And again, this aligns with the compassion heart that Paul had for all of his ministry. We had a mom come to the food pantry for food recently. And while she was there, she found out that we also have a pregnancy center. So she goes, yeah, I want to check that out. Could I go there? So we had somebody from the food pantry take her down the hallway, because it's just down the hallway to where the pregnancy center is located. And they started her off, and they brought her into our boutique store. We have a free boutique store. Mom went in there, shopped for some diapers, and she's shopping for different supplies, and then she was able to receive all that for free. And then she began to talk with some of the pregnancy center team. And she told them, she goes, yeah, I'm pregnant with my 3rd child. I have 2. I'm pregnant with my 3rd child. But she told them she did not know if she was going to carry that child. She didn't know she was going to choose to carry that child to term, that 3rd child. Well, the pregnancy center team we showed love to them. They just showed love to her and walked alongside of her, continued to give her unconditional love and support. And a little update on that. Now, the mom is past the halfway point of her pregnancy and plans to carry that child to term. It's awesome, right? Awesome. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Synergy between different elements of the Dream Center is amazing. And as we think about this heart of compassion that defined Paul's ministry and led him to talk about this giving moment, the other thing we see here is that Paul had the expectation that as followers of Jesus, each person, everyone, will demonstrate this type of generous giving to those who are in need. Why? Because we know and remember that God owns our finances. So his expectation was we all do this, okay? He had the expectation that both wealthy people and poor people would contribute through giving. One translation says this, we'll put it on the screen. He says, each of you is to set aside a sum of money in keeping with your income. Now, since some people in that particular culture had no income because they worked for people who provided for all of their basic necessities as their compensation, really the literal translation of the Greek text here would sound like this. Whatever success or prosperity may come their way that week, each should set aside something for this giving opportunity. So each person should give in a way that's connected to the level of resources that God's blessed them with. Those who made a lot of money would demonstrate that through a large gift. Those who made a small amount of money would demonstrate that through a smaller gift. And this is really a great principle for us to practice as well. That's why Paul's talking about it. And the demonstration of giving is actually more than money itself. Of course, that's what Paul was focused on here in this particular passage. We understand that. We're leaning into that today. And it also went beyond that. This specific offering that Paul is talking about, this giving opportunity, is also talked about in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, 2 Corinthians chapter 9, and Romans 15. And from the context of all those scriptures where Paul talks about this same giving opportunity, there are 5 different results that we see when we demonstrate giving in this way. I just want to give those to you real quick because I think they're pretty powerful. The first one is this. There's a result of fellowship and connection with people. So this idea of fellowship and connection with people. There's a coming together of God's people that breaks down barriers when we do this, like the Jew and Gentile relationships. When we give the way Paul describes, we ultimately invest in people of different cultures that aren't necessarily like us, And then that brings us together in a unified way. Even though we may not be near each other geographically, there's still this unique connection that we can have because it tears down walls that could divide us. It really does something spiritual, and it opens our heart to love people the way that God loves people. That's awesome. And I think a great example of this was John Wesley. I don't know if you know this, but John Wesley, he was actually used by God to revive like 18th century England, and he also started the Methodist Church. And maybe you've heard about him, maybe as a great preacher, maybe that's kind of in history you thought, I've kind of learned this or whatever. But few people probably know that Wesley, he actually made significant amounts of money. I've seen some sources that say that he sold a lot of his writings because he wrote a lot and he sold his writings that made him one of the richest or wealthiest men in England at that particular time. But here was his belief. He believed that when income would increase, a Christian's standard of living should not increase, but their standard of giving should increase. That was his philosophy. That as followers of Jesus, our standard of giving should increase, not so much our standard of living. Well, he practiced that principle. He lived that. That's what he did. Okay, what did he do? Well, he actually gave away all of his money that he earned beyond a certain point. So as he would earn more and more money, he just kind of drew that line. He's like, well, everything I earned beyond this, I'm just going to give it away. So he didn't increase his standard of living. He increased his standard of giving. And you know what that did? It opened his heart to people in a powerful way, which really allowed him to speak and to minister and to preach at a whole different level because he wasn't just preaching to an audience, he was preaching to people that his heart were open to because his heart was aligned with God's heart and he loved them in a fresh way, in a brand new way because of the way he gave. And also because of that, numerous charities and faith-based educational institutions were opened through his funding and his passion to help people. You see, giving actually enlarges our heart for people when we practice what Paul is talking about in these scriptures. Okay, the next result when we give this way is service. There's this idea, this service idea, okay? So Paul communicates that giving is actually an act of service when it's done out of a spirit of love for other people. It's actually an essential part of the Christian faith, a part of our experience, a part of our lifestyle. Okay, it's what believers, really, he says we should do this. And this kind of service is something that really should be natural for us. Like as a believer, this kind of giving should be natural. Just kind of like it's natural, okay, for like a mail carrier to deliver mail to your house. That's what they do, right? They deliver mail. Like it's natural for a FedEx truck to drop off a package at your house because, hey, that's what FedEx does. Yeah, it's natural for a tire store to install brand new tires on your vehicle. Why? Because it's just that's what the tire store does. And then it's natural for kids who live in your house to leave dirty dishes all over the place and not clean up after themselves. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Because it's natural. It's like what they do, right? You get what I'm saying? Well, in the same way, it's natural for Christians to participate in serving one another through generous giving. In fact, in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 4, we won't look at that scripture. I just want to tell you what's going on there. Paul tells us that the churches in Macedonia were actually begging. He had churches like begging him, okay, for the privilege of serving in ministry through giving in this specific offering to help Jewish believers. They're begging him, please let us give because we want to serve in this way. Please let us do this. You see, once we start to engage in this kind of generous giving, we begin to realize the difference that it makes in people's lives, and then it's something we always want to be a part of moving forward. When we actually become driven to serve through giving, we want to practice it more and more and more, not less and less and less. We're like, come on, let me in on this. It's wonderful. Okay, the next product of generous giving is connected to this idea of grace. Grace can be understood as a benefit, something that's not deserved, something we don't earn. We were given incredible grace through what Jesus did for us. When Paul's talking about this same giving opportunity in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, here's what he said. You can see the verse on the screen. He said, "You know the generous grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, so that by his poverty he could make you rich." Now, the context of when Paul says these words, it's actually very surprising. So he says this in the context of challenging the Corinthians to give generously. Yeah, in this particular offering. Now, the basis for our generous giving is based on the grace that Jesus showed us. Because Jesus was rich, figuratively speaking. He was in heaven with God, so he had everything that he needed, right? Heaven, we would say, is this amazing place. So figuratively speaking, Jesus was rich, so to speak, in heaven, but he stepped down to earth and he became one of us, fully man, fully God. He walked the earth, okay? And then he died on a cross, took our place, died on a cross for me and you, so we could say that he became poor in that moment, so to speak, so we could become spiritually rich. Does that make sense? Aren't you glad he did that for us? I'm so glad that he did that for us. Well, Paul uses that to say another way that we can express gratitude for that grace that Jesus showed us is to actually step out in generous giving. That's a powerful extension. It's like this powerful acknowledgement or this powerful representation of the grace that Jesus showed each of us. So we recognize it's something that we didn't deserve it, we didn't earn it, I didn't do anything to get this. Hey, Jesus just gave it to me by his grace. Undeserved. And I'm so grateful for that. And because of it, we can give generously. A fourth result of generous giving is blessing. Can you say blessing? Love that. Hey, Paul talks about generous giving in this way. He says that the resources of one person become the blessing to another, and then when they receive it, they offer a blessing of thanks to God. So I want us to see this triple blessing that happens when we participate in generous giving. I don't want us to miss this. So just lean into this a little bit, okay? So number one, the first part of this triple blessing is we are blessed when we give. The Bible says it's more blessed to give than to receive. You see, our giving opens a door for God to release all kinds of blessings on our life that go way beyond finances. And we are spiritually blessed when we give because there's a satisfaction and affirmation that takes place on the inside of us. And that's how it's more blessed to give than to receive, because something happens to us and in us when we do that. So we are blessed. The second wave of this blessing is that those we are giving towards, they are also blessed, okay? The receivers of the gift are changed and transformed because of the giving. Many times when we give generously in that way, people's lives are changed. There's new possibilities for them. There's a new life, okay? They are truly blessed. Then the third wave of this blessing involves God. We don't often think about that, but God, He's elevated and He's blessed by that. When He gets that credit, He receives this as a form of worship from us, from those who receive the generous gift. And it's a form of worship. And so God's blessed as well, okay? So this trifecta, this three blessing sort of thing happens when we give generously. Now the fifth result of generous giving is divine service. Divine service. We already talked about giving being a service to other people, but it's also a service to God Himself as divine. How is that? Well, 2 Corinthians 9, verse 12, it calls this particular generous giving, this offering that we're talking about, many expressions of thanks to God. It says it about that. So when we give generously, it's actually a divine service to God Himself. It is very spiritual in nature. We don't often connect finances with something that is spiritual. We think it's just, no. It's very spiritual. Our finances and what we do with them are very spiritually connected. Why? Since God owns my finances, He has a divine purpose for my finances. So just as a reminder, the first principle of His purpose for our finances is that I view giving as a demonstration and not an obligation. Okay, the second principle for God's purposes for our finances is number two, I am proactive instead of reactive with my finances. I am proactive instead of reactive with my finances. I like what he said here in verse 2. On the first day of each week, you should each put aside a portion of the money you have earned. Don't wait until I get there and then try to collect it all at once. What's very interesting is that when Paul was talking about finances here, he's not applying pressure to people. He's not like using gimmicks, okay? He's not playing on people's emotions. We don't like to do that either. We don't want to use gimmicks. We're not trying to put pressure on people. We don't want to play on people's emotions. And Paul wasn't doing that either, okay? And he's not even talking about like, hey, this is an event, a one-time giving event here. He's not talking about that. He's talking about organizing our giving with the strong financial plan in mind. And there's a lot of time and energy and money that could be saved and used in a better way if we would take this particular approach with our finances. This giving opportunity was to be organized and planned instead of it just being like this one-off kind of event. But too often, the way we navigate our finances is more spontaneous, is more like a one-off event. Hey, I got some money here. Hey, what can I do with it? We just it's this one-off event. It's spontaneous, and this is the way the majority of the world uses their finances. Let me ask you this question. How many of you have ever waited until the night before to study for a big exam? Anybody? I'm raising my hand. Anybody? Some of you are lying here today. Not telling the truth. Yeah, we waited till the night before to study. Maybe you're in middle school, high school, maybe some college course, some next master's degree, whatever the thing is. Yeah, there's an exam. We take a driver's exam. There's all kinds of exams. Maybe we're trying to cram it all in the night before. Well, guess what that does? That builds stress, and we're flipping through pages or looking at documents online or whatever, trying to study, and our brains are getting overloaded, and we're trying to just cram it in there. Then after a while, we're just like, man, forget trying to get a good grade. I just want to get a passing grade. You know, we're just like, hopefully I can get through this thing, right? And just pass. And then when the exam comes, we're like facing it or whatever. And then we're really far from prepared, okay? Because our approach has just been night before, try to get it in, cram it in. And then we're giving spontaneous answers, whatever pops in our mind. We're kind of throwing it down there. Again, just trying to barely get by because we were making this more spontaneous than planned. But contrast that with having more of a routine to study for this particular exam that's coming up. You know what's happening. You know it's going to come. So we study a portion of the material on a regular basis so we can digest it. We accumulate the information in our brains over time. We know it. It's intentional. It's deliberate. It's more organized. It's more planned. We get what I'm saying here, right? And then by the time you get to exam day, hey, we're not guessing. We're not throwing out answers. None of the spontaneous stuff. We walk in more confident, all right? There's no stress. We believe we're going to do so much better. There's no guesswork, right? And chances are we walk away with a whole lot more success because we planned leading up to that exam day rather than trying to cram it in spontaneous the night before. Well, too many people approach their finances like cramming for the exam the night before. That's how so many people approach their finances. We live paycheck to paycheck. No real plan, no real purpose. Spending is more spontaneous instead of well thought out. It's reactive instead of proactive. It's emotional instead of intentional and disciplined, so to speak. Well, the principle that Paul is bringing to us in this passage is that the strategic discipline of systematic, intentional giving is important and powerful. But guess what? We actually can't do that unless we have an overall systematic, intentional financial plan with our money and our overall resources. And when we think about it, since God is the owner of all that we have, all of our finances, well, it's our responsibility to have a strategic, intentional plan for our finances because he's the owner. But here's the deal. That sounds like overwhelming, like I'm no financial expert. I didn't go to school for it sounds like we got to have a degree to figure all that out. How in the world is this possible? How can I put together a plan like this? Where do we start? Like it feels impossible. It seems impossible. Like we know, okay, yeah, what you're saying, Pastor Cullen, that's probably good. I probably need that. I'm agreeing with you, but I got no idea how to do this. Well, we want to practically show you how this is possible. no matter how much you have, no matter how much you don't have, no matter what age you are. Okay? Why? So that you can become proactive instead of reactive with your finances. We're going to put this on the screen, and this is an amazing resource. We are making this available free to you. No cost. Free. We want to invest in you because we want to add value to your life in this area. Okay, it's called Ramsey Plus. It's material from financial expert Dave Ramsey, okay? And he's a believer. He's well known for his expertise in this area. You can get this all this information on your phone, on your smartphone, or on your iPad, or on your tablet, or on your computer. However you would like to consume it. It's there for you, okay? And this is only for people, because we did make an investment so we could pass this along to you. This is only for people who attend Reach Church. And it's limited to one account per household, okay? So if you're attending Reach Church and you're like, hey, this is my first time, I want to come here, then you can, it's for you too. It's awesome, it's for you. We're glad you're here. Welcome to our family. Okay? And so the way this would work is when one person signs up in the household, that person can send an email to others in the household to share all this information. So that's how it would work, all right? So you can scan that QR code. I see some of you already doing it. It's wonderful. It's awesome. Please do that. That's why we have it here. We have it here for that reason. Let me just kind of tell you some of the things it includes, and this really isn't even everything, but it has a financial peace online course, and it walks you through these things. It makes what something sounds like so intimidating, it makes it actually simple for you. Okay, this financial online peace course will transform your finances. It shows you a pathway to become debt-free. How many of you think that sounds really good? It shows you a pathway to become debt-free. It shows you how to be free from living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, it shows you an intentional plan to manage and use your finances in a way that honors God and sets you up for success. Okay, and then you can finally become financially free. This is a biblical way you can do it. It's literally a game changer for you. And then there's also included with this a premium, and this course would cost a lot of money, period, if that's all it was. But again, all this is free to you. And there's also the premium version of a budgeting app. This app is compatible with the principles you learn about in the financial peace information. It all works together like this. Just this app alone would normally cost like about $18 a month. But again, we're making it free for you. Isn't this cool? This is really the gold standard for helping you to budget. Shows you how to account for every dollar every month. It'll help you know where and how your money's being utilized so you can be proactive about it. It shows you how to take control of your finances instead of your finances taking control of you. And it also, within all this, shows you how to be strategic and intentional with your giving, just like Paul is talking about in this passage here today. It shows you how to prioritize tithing, which is what we call that obedient giving. This is the first 10% we bring to God and give through our local church out of obedience to God so that all of our finances will be blessed by God. Shows you how to do that. It'll show you how to give generously once you start tithing. And this is that principle of giving over and above your tithe. We give that towards global impact, our missions efforts here and all around the world at Reach Church. And this is just like Paul is talking about in this passage. And there's additional resources too. There's to help you become really financially stable and free. You get a free one-on-one financial coaching session with one of their experts. You get free federal e-filing. There's free audiobooks that you can check out. Free on-demand money courses. Again, this is incredible. This is only for people who attend Reach Church. And it's limited to one account per household. And again, just to clarify, that one person in the household can then send the email to others in the household so they can share in all the information. Just simply scan that QR code on the screen. This is truly one of the most practical action steps we believe that we can provide for you so that we can add value to your life and your finances. I truly believe this can be life-changing for so many people in this room. Why? Since God owns my finances, He has a divine purpose for my finances, and you can help find that by going through all this information. Isn't this incredible? This is awesome. We want to add value to your life. So the first principle of this purpose of our finances was I view giving as a demonstration, not an obligation. And the second principle, I am proactive instead of reactive with my finances. The very last principle of God's purposes for our finances is this. Number 3, I handle my finances with integrity. I handle them with integrity. That's a big deal. Paul said here in these verses, when I come, I will write letters of recommendation for the messengers you choose to deliver your gift to Jerusalem. And if it seems appropriate for me to go along, they can travel with me. You see, what was happening here is something called accountability, right? Accountability was in place to make sure the funds were delivered where they were supposed to be delivered and used in the proper way. They had security escorts. They had letters of confirmation. Paul was willing to even go along with them to assure that things were going to be handled properly. And all of this protected the finances with integrity. See, when you give at Reach Church, I want you to know that your giving is being handled with integrity as well, okay? Both your tithes and your generous giving. We actually have daily protocols in place when giving takes place. We have weekly protocols in place for giving. We have monthly protocols in place. We have annual protocols in place. And we also have an outside company do an audit of our finances every single year. We do all that to handle our finances with integrity. And I'm letting you know that so that when you give, okay, you can give with the highest level of confidence, knowing that your finances are being handled with high levels of integrity. We want you to know that. Because since God is the owner of our finances, we as a church, we have an obligation to handle our finances with the highest level of integrity. And we also know that as individuals, since God owns our finances, we too have an obligation to handle our individual finances with that same level of integrity. And one of the big things you can do to handle your finances with that type of integrity is to align your finances with the principles found in God's Word. And the Ramsey Plus material that we're passing along to you free of charge, that will guide you through that process, and it will help you to handle your finances with that kind of integrity so you can set yourself up for success, because we want that for you. And guess what? You can also teach principles of financial integrity to your family and set them up for success for generations to come. You don't even have to know how to do it yourself. We're giving you the how-to. You can pass that along to them. It's a wonderful thing to pass on from generation to generation. Can we all stand to our feet today? And I'm going to ask as we stand to our feet that nobody